That's close.
That's,
I think there's one more member of House leadership.
In checking with the individuals on that, direction was given to the treasurer, and the treasurer complied with the directions of the targeting committee. And we are referring the complaint once again to the Rules Committee. Another report will come back probably at the next meeting for whatever action the SEC would choose to take. The last time, they simply affirmed the legitimacy of the targeting committee's actions. And that's all that's on the current agenda, and that next report will be my final one. Thank you.
The Resolutions Committee, if you remember when the Central Committee met, we tabled a number of resolutions to be worked on before the February meeting. Alice and I have worked through that. If you have an intent, and I'd like for the region representatives to go back to their districts and ask this question, if you have an intent to help repair a couple of the resolutions that were tabled, let me know so I can develop some kind of work assignment. I've solicited some interest, and I've gotten nominally none. I don't find that to be an acceptable net result. So let me know. The other thing on resolutions, kind of a companion piece, as of a couple of days ago, I had, I think, 37 members having indicated a legislative committee that they want to work on. You know if you've done it. You know if you haven't done it. Your world's going to be more meaningful, and I will send this list back out just to the executive committee probably tomorrow, so you can see who in your region is MIA, to see if you can encourage them, because your trip to Juneau in a couple of weeks is going to be more meaningful if you have some focus. And for example, if you live in a district like mine, where my House rep is Les Guerra, and my senator is Johnny Ellis, I would really be looking forward to doing something else than going to visit with them. So this is very important for you to get your folks focused so they have an opportunity to do something that makes the Juneau trip meaningful in terms of the Friday involvement. If they go down Thursday, even more so. At this time, we need to proceed to the consideration of the removal requests that have been filed with the party. The back page of your main handout is a proposed resolution for the conduct of a hearing, an individual hearing. Do I have a motion to accept? Motion to accept by Steve Culligan.
Excuse me, I have something to say before we begin with the proceeding. It's very important. My name is Debbie Holly Brown, and as one of the individuals that is being brought forward, as you know, Mr. Chairman, you yourself have filed the complaint against me. As any self-respecting Republican woman would want everyone in the room to know, the rules state that, and this is under Article X in the ARP rules, this is Article 10 under process for removal. Section C reads, no person may be removed from elective Republican Party office without first being given an opportunity for a fair hearing of the charges against him or her, and reasonable opportunity to reply to such charges. Now, first of all, I would not consider requesting for a closed hearing. Absolutely not. I would request for an open hearing. But I believe that this is absolutely inadequate process that is being presented to me. And I am a self-respecting Republican woman. And I believe that I need to request opportunity for legal counsel, opportunity for adequate time to prepare, which has not been provided to me. I need to prepare, I need more time to prepare, and I expect the Alaska Republican Party to pay for my legal counsel, seeing how the Alaska Republican Party chairman himself has brought these charges forward upon me erroneously, I might add. So
Thank you for your
there you
comment.
are, and that I insist upon. And I'm doing this not only for myself, but for the Alaska Republican Party and every self-respecting Republican woman and man in this party in the entire state of Alaska. And I would ask for the consideration of these matters by the executive committee members on behalf of
We will
Alaskans.
come back to your request after we have a format in which to work. We have a motion made. We have a second. Is there any debate?
Would repeat the motion?
The motion,
Repeat the motion.
the motion is to adopt the last page of the package that's been handed out, first package, which simply states, resolved that each removal hearing shall be conducted by the Alaska Republican Party State Executive Committee on January 17th, following the time limits. The following time limits will apply. Opening statements, 3 minutes each. Presentation of case, 15 minutes. Cross-examination of the plaintiff's case, or the complainant's case, 5 minutes. The defense's presentation, 15 minutes. The complainant's cross, and then 10 minutes by the members of the committee asking questions, and then 2 minutes for each to close. That gives us a 1-hour hearing for each case. That is consistent with the request in the rules for equal time for the complainant and the defense.
Who made the motion, please?
The motion was made by Steve Culligan and seconded by Steve Straight.
Thank you.
And furthermore, Mr. Chairman, I must insist, you may not, sir, be the presiding officer as of this moment, because you are the individual that brought forth charges
We're not
in
to
my
that
direction.
point. I will not be the presiding officer relative to your case, I can assure you.
One point, I just know, we have 4 defendants, you guys agreed you were going to quit at 9 o'clock. You can't fit 4 hours into 3 hours.
We will make accommodations for that. And some of these may finish early. Mr. Ross.
If I might, I'm Wayne Ross, former National Committee man. We've been on the radio, we've been on TV. Many of us, Myrna, Randy, many of us have worked very hard to make a unified party and elect Republicans. We don't need to have this kind of stuff. We need to work together. And
Could
my
you-
suggestion would be that somebody make a motion to dismiss all complaints and that we work together for the benefit of all the Republicans.
Thank you, Mr. Ross. Is there any discussion from the members?
I think the motion is out of order. His motion is out of order.
His motion's immaterial, I'm ignoring it. Yeah. Mike? Yes, sir.
After having reviewed numerous emails and comments and being somewhat of a party to Ms. Brown's pursuit of the complaint, and having looked briefly at the complaint against the chairman, Mr. Riedrich, I agree with Wayne Ross, and I move that we dismiss both complaints.
So we have a motion on the floor. Can we?
I'd like to speak to the motion.
We have a motion on the floor, Mr. Terrianen. Let me move that, and then I'll come back to you immediately. All in favor of the process motion that's been adopted, indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Opposed.
No.
It passes. Thank you. Now, Mr. Terrianen, your motion.
I move that we dismiss and dispense with the claim or the complaint against Ms. Brown and the complaint filed against Mr. Riedrich.
Mr. Millett.
Is there a second?
Which complaints is he talking about?
There's a complaint that I filed against There's a complaint I filed against Debbie, and there's a complaint that Renee Wall filed against me that Mr. Culligan just added to the agenda. Is that correct, Mike?
That's correct, that's what I understand.
Is there a second? Hearing no second, we'll move on to the first piece of business under this, and I'll turn. I will turn the gavel over to Mr. Culligan, who will be presiding on this activity.
Okay, at this point, I believe on the agenda is the complaint against Ms. Brown. And we have in front of us the...
Point of order, just if I could, sorry to interrupt. I just want to make sure they can hear on the phone. That's my concern. Thank you. Thank you.
We can hear in Juneau.
Okay, so before us...
Order,
Point of order heard? Yes?
do we have a timekeeper?
Yes, we have a timekeeper. Our Assistant Secretary, Julie Gillette, has a talking timer, so everybody will be notified of the time by the minute and by the 10-second increments as it counts down. It may be difficult to hear that on the phone, but we do have a timekeeper. So before us is the first complaint.
Excuse me, I need to repeat what my earlier statements were. My name is Debbie Brown. I am the individual named in the complaint. As a self-respecting Republican woman, a longtime Alaskan Republican woman, I have a right to a fair hearing and opportunity for legal counsel, and I would expect...
Yes, ma'am, so we hear you.
Well,
There's a point of order.
Well, I would like to raise a point of order that I should be able to speak, since how I'm here and that individual is not, and I have an opportunity to express myself regarding my own hearing. And it is stated in the Republican rules, the Republican Party rules,
so at the
which I will
moment,
read.
The Executive Committee, we've heard you read the rules.
Okay.
The Executive Committee has adopted the agenda for this evening and the rules for the hearing.
Except for...
Which also allows you the right to appeal that, whatever happens this evening.
Except for it doesn't address Mr. Culligan, sir. It does not address my right to counsel and adequate time to prepare, in addition to opportunity for a fair hearing, which means there would be room, additional room, for individuals who may have been able to speak on my behalf. So there's inadequate opportunity to prepare and share information and receive information, you know, from the other side, so that we have opportunity to know how to prepare for a proper hearing. Thank you for hearing me out.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. So along with that, we'll back to the agenda and the first complaint. So we'll just read them again. The opening statements, the complainant is allowed 3 minutes, the defendant 3 minutes, then the presentation of the case.
Mr. Chairman, can I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
I'd just like to ask a question. When was this files charged, and when was Ms. Brown notified of it?
I would refer that to ask Mr. Frank McQuarrie of the Rules Committee, and you refer
Just as a point of clarification.
Actually, I don't have the complaint in front of me, but it is available and dated and was presented to the defendant. And can you refresh us on the date?
Mr. Chairman, if you would.
The date on the document is January 2nd. I alerted the defendant to my concerns on or before December 10th. I met with the defendant and her spouse on the 17th, 1 month ago, and filed the complaint more than 2 weeks before this event. I assumed that we were more than adequate had we not delayed the meeting. We delayed the meeting an additional 4 days, so this was filed 15 days in its final form with the defendant.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, with that, I would ask Ms. Julie Gillette to set the timer to 3 minutes. We'll allow the complainant to file the complaint.